Hey, welcome everyone to a review of the Sennheiser 350BT wireless headphones. Now, if you want to see the written version of this review, you can find a link to my website in the video description. Now, if you go to the Sennheiser Canadian website, they're usually advertised as a price of $149. But if you look at other retailers like Amazon or Best Buy, their regular pricing without a sale is $120. And over in the US, whether it's the Sennheiser US website or other retailers, they're always sold at a flat $120 US. So it's weird because the Canadian dollar is a lot weaker, but they're still priced at the same dollar numerical value. Now, these are pure Bluetooth wireless headphones. They do not support a wired connection. So just Bluetooth only, and they support Bluetooth 5.0. Now, according to Sennheiser documentation, it has an advertised range of about 33 feet. In my testing, I was able to get more than 50 feet. In fact, I was able to go from my device playing on the middle level of my house, and I was able to go to the second floor of my house and walk around the entire second floor with almost no disconnection problems. Now, it does support dual connectivity, which means you can connect to two devices at the same time, but you can only listen to audio from one device at a time. If you have it connected to a computer and a cell phone, and you're listening to audio from a computer and your cell phone rings, it'll automatically pause the music and let you answer the call with no problem. In terms of how many devices you can keep in memory before repairing them and learning them all over again on the device, Sennheiser documentation says you can have up to 8 devices in memory. In my testing, I got up to 4, which will be a lot for most people. When it comes to accessories, there's no carrying case included in the box, which is kind of anticipated at this price tag, so it's not a big deal. The only real accessory you get is the charging cable, which is a USB-A to USB-C fitting. Unfortunately, it's not USB-C all around, so it's kind of a bummer. But that cable is pretty lengthy, measuring in about 60 inches. There's also no power adapter included in the box, so basically Sennheiser expects you to use your own power adapter or plug it into a computer directly for charging. The design itself has a pleasant looking body. It doesn't stand out in any particular way except for the logos of Sennheiser being on the side, but again, you're not looking for anything too amazing and outstanding at this price tag. In fact, it looks almost identical to the Sennheiser 450BT headphones. A link to that review will be in the YouTube channel of mine. It does have a fold-in design, but it's a huge letdown for a very particular reason, is that the ear cups don't fold in. So this doesn't work well when you're putting in, say, a laptop bag. It will kind of bulge out unnecessarily. I'm not sure why they have a folding design, but the ear cups don't fold in to become flat. When it comes to comfort and wearing them, they're very comfortable for me. And I'll explain what that means. So I can wear them for 3 hours straight non-stop, no problems, very comfortable on the ears. So there's two main reasons for that. One is that the ear cushioning thickness is, well, it's thick and soft. The other thing is that the interior of the headband, there is some cushioning. It's not the thickest I would expect, but honestly, it's just enough for people with no hair to be somewhat comfortable with them. When it comes to wearing them with glasses in my testing, they're also very comfortable, but there's a catch with that, but I'll talk about that in the audio quality section. But there is one major letdown to these headphones when it comes to wearing them. As I mentioned, they're comfortable for me, but they won't be for everyone else. That's because the ear cushion designs are very narrow. They're meant to kind of wrap around your ear as tight as possible, which again, for me and other people, that'll work fine. But for people with larger ears, that could be discomforting. I'm not sure why they decided to do this. Not the most well thought out design. Okay, so I mentioned I can wear them comfortably for 3 hours straight, which that basically means no sweaty ears, no discomfort, like good stuff. Can you use them for working out? Yeah, you can. I mean, they're over-the-ear headphones and they're pretty snug. The flex on the band is not too bad, not too tight, but it's okay. They don't move almost at all, so great for working out in that regard. But the thing is that they're over-the-ear headphones, and I also mentioned that the ear cup is very narrow against the ear itself. So your ears will sweat excessively when wearing these headphones, and it will be far from comfortable at that point when working out. The body does come in 2 available colors. They come in black, as I'm reviewing, and also a white color option. They weigh 238 grams, and it's not bad. That weight is pretty decent, not too heavy, not too light. And for this price tag, it feels pretty sturdy in the hand. It's not like it's the concern that if you drop it a couple times, the plastic on it will break or anything. But of course, that folding design is a bummer because I mentioned earlier it's almost useless. On top of that, whenever you have a folding design on headphones, it automatically makes the body weaker than it could be if it was a solid frame instead. These are not dust and water resistant. It specifically says to keep them dust-free and dry in the manual. Now, when it comes to damage, of course, there are replacement ear cups available from the Sennheiser website, but they're hard to find in stock. But there are plenty of third-party vendors that sell replacement ear cups. The headband uses a notch slider to adjust the length, which is pretty decent. And when it comes to ear cup rotation, does a pretty good job when rotating up, down, forward, and back. And when it comes to resting on my neck, it's not too bad. Going left and right, it just barely touches my chin. Looking down, it does rub against my chin and cheeks, but not too big of a deal. So jumping over to controls, there's nothing on the left ear cup. Everything is on the right ear cup. So starting on the front of the right ear cup, there's a multifunction button, which is used to power the device on and off, and holding it will activate Bluetooth pairing mode. Next in line is the volume rocker buttons, and then of course after that is a slider. So pressing it will play pause music, and sliding up will go to the next track, and sliding down for previous track. That same slider, if you press it, will answer a call, and pressing it again will hang up the call. The slider can do other functionalities and controls, especially when it comes to phone calls, but we're not going to dive into it because it'll just be too long for this review. And lastly is a dedicated button for a voice assistant function if it's connected to a smartphone. In my testing, use Google Assistant, and listening to commands and response time is pretty adequate. There is a problem though, is that when you press the button, it doesn't make the typical Google sound that it's listening, like the, like doo-doo. Instead, the only way to notice that it's listening to you is when side tone turns on, which basically means you can hear your surroundings. I'll explain side tone later on when I go through the app itself, so not a big deal, but just something to keep in mind. Sennheiser could have done a better job when it comes to the control layout. I've been using these headphones for several weeks, and for the most part, I've got muscle memory to memorize where each control is, but sometimes I might, press volume up when I meant to pause music. It's annoying. Why didn't they divide the controls on to the left and right ear cup? It would have been a lot easier to just kind of know exactly which thing you're trying to press on which ear cup. I wish they had thought it through a little bit better. Lastly, when it comes to controls, in case you're curious, there's no active play pause, which basically means that when you're listening to music, you have the headphones on, okay? And then when you take them off, your content will automatically pause. And when you put them back on, it'll detect that you're wearing them and then automatically resume music or movie or whatever you're watching. These headphones don't have that capability, which is not a big deal. It's not expected as price tag, but I just wanted to mention it. Okay, so there's no ANC, active noise canceling. But when it comes to passive noise canceling, just wearing them because they're over-the-ear headphones, people talking around you in the same room as you at just regular volume, not shouting or anything like that, it kind of gets muffled out. You can just slightly make out what people are saying. But of course, if you're listening to music, then it's gonna be a non-issue. You won't be really to hear anything at all. Battery performance is pretty good on these headphones, especially at this price tag. Sennheiser advertised about 30 hours. In my multiple battery drain tests, I kept averaging 43 hours, which is way over what Sennheiser claims. When it comes to recharging time, Sennheiser claims 2 hours, and in my testing, I averaged the exact same thing, 2 hours. 2 hours might seem like a lot, but considering you're getting 43 hours of playback for a 2-hour charge, the trade-off is well worth it. The USB-C charging port is also located on the bottom of the right ear cup. One thing to keep in mind is that you cannot charge these headphones while they're on. They must be powered off before they start to charge the battery. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is a microphone sample test straight from the 350BT microphone. We're in a quiet environment. Then what I'm going to do is replicate a noisy environment through my camera microphone so you can kind of hear how bad and noisy it really is. And then in that same environment, we're going to switch over to 350BT to see can it isolate a lot of background noise. Then lastly, we're going to do a wind test, microphone test. Okay, so what you're hearing right now is from the camera microphone in a replicated noisy environment. Doesn't sound that good, right? So when I switch over to the 350BT headphones, you kind of make out for yourself what you think about in terms of the background noise isolation. I'm going to actually stop talking for a few seconds so you can get a better idea what it sounds like. And lastly, what I'm doing is a wind test replication with the fan sitting about 5 feet away from me. You can make a judgment call for yourself as to what you think about the microphone in a windy environment. Now, when it comes to audio quality, I was rather surprised, mainly for one thing. First off is the codecs. It supports SBC and AAC. No surprise. What surprised me is that these support aptX. Even a lot of other more expensive Sony headphones don't support that. So really cool to see that in these headphones. Now, when it comes to audio quality itself, out of the box, a flat profile, surprisingly at this price tag, it does a pretty darn good job. Everything I found was really well balanced. There was no overbearing sound type over the other. So for example, when I reviewed the Momentum 4 wireless, a link to that will be in the video description. That is like the premium headphones, the main go-to from Sennheiser. The bass is punched up slightly out of the box. Here, that's not the case. Everything's just really well balanced at a flat profile. So you can kind of honestly just enjoy the music straight out of the box, not a problem. Now you can adjust it with the equalizer. It's a very basic one in the app, which I'll demonstrate shortly. Adjusting bass a little bit higher. It doesn't get as deep as other headphones. So for example, the Sony 520s, which I reviewed recently, they're in a similar price bracket. Those are still a little bit better in punchiness and bass, although it's not bad, again, at this price tag. When I increased the vocals, it stood out slightly, but not by a huge amount. What's weird is that when I reduced vocals all the way in the equalizer, just for fun, just for testing, it didn't degrade the quality at all. But when you punch it up, it will isolate the vocals slightly. but not by a large margin. The one that I like the best about the equalizer control was treble, and I noticed this with the Momentum 4 wireless as well, is that when you increase the treble, it doesn't get overbearing. Like some other headphones in their equalizer, it'll make the noise too sharp and a bit annoying for my ears. Sennheiser doesn't do that. The 350BT will increase it. It gets slightly sharper, but nothing to its overbearing for your ears. When it comes to wearing glasses, these headphones do suffer considerably, especially when it comes to bass. What happens is that when my non-prescription glasses and I was testing audio, I didn't notice that the gap in the ear cups will slightly open up to let the frame of the glasses poke out. That's fine, except a lot of the bass would leak out and the punchiness on it would drop dramatically. So if you're a bass enthusiast, you wear glasses, you might want to avoid these headphones. You will suffer in sound quality quite a bit. When it comes to mids and highs, it suffers slightly, not as much as the bass, but there's a slight degradation in sound quality. So something to keep in mind if you wear glasses and you're looking to buy these headphones. So now we're going over the software on my smartphone. So basically we have is the equalizer. As I mentioned earlier, it's a very basic equalizer, one for bass, mids, and treble. Doesn't go like a full-blown equalizer, but honestly, it gets the job done. And this price tag for the headphones is hard to complain. Going over to sound check, this is more of a gimmicky feature, to be honest. What happens is that you start playing music and you go through these hearing tests, and the app will kind of try to recommend to you what is considered the best equalizer setting. And once you finish completing the process, you'll notice that if you go back to the equalizer, it'll adjust it to something like this, like some random settings, right? The problem is when you go back to sound check, once you set it up all over again. So if you fiddle with the equalizer after doing it the first time, you have to go back and redo the entire process again. So sound check is honestly more of a gimmick, but to each their own. Side tone is basically when it allows you to do is hear your own voice during phone calls. So you'll know, are you speaking too loudly, too softly, and actually will project the exterior noise around you into the headphones so you can actually hear, are the surrounding noises around you too loud for people like on the other end of the phone call? Will they hear that you're in a noisy cafe, for example? Going over to Discover is a whole bunch of kind of like advertisements from Sennheiser. And then lastly, under settings, most important thing here is firmware updates. They work pretty decently. I got a few out of the box when I unpackaged the 350 BTs. And then of course, what you can see on the home screen, such as tiles, and that's pretty much it. Considering the price point of these headphones, they're not bad, but they could have been much better. And for just some really weird decision making from Sennheiser. One is the folding design, but the ear cups can't fold flat, so putting it in like a laptop bag doesn't make much sense. It bulges out like crazy. The other thing, which is the most bizarre to me, is the very narrow ear cups. Again, if you have larger ears, they're not going to work that well for you. Your experience is not going to be comfortable at all. So that's pretty much a wrap for this review. So if you found this video useful, be sure to check out my social links and website link in the video description. Hit the like button, it does help, subscribe, and thanks for watching.